Have you ever wondered how music is chosen for advertising? Well, if you have, then you'll definitely want to check out our featured conversation with Ben Dorenfeld, Director of Music at Anomaly. We discussed the many new music sources for advertising, the challenge of using an unknown composer, as well as getting on his radar to understand what his musical needs are, and much, much more. Right now. Hi, this is Rich Ezra from MUBUTV, where we are all about educating, empowering, and engaging music artists and music business professionals who are dedicated to having a successful career in the music industry. We're here at Muse Expo in beautiful downtown Burbank, where we managed to catch up with Ben Dorenfeld of Anomaly. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Rich.
You are the music producer for a very, very significant advertising agency, and that's a very unique field that's distinct from film, from television, and from video games. Can you take us through the choices? How does the choice of music, at what stage does that start in your world when you're going to be working on a new spot?
Well, that's an interesting question, Rich. It can actually take place at a few different stages. We sometimes are involved at the inception of an idea. It can be as early as concepting an idea with the creative team, working with the strategy team, and ultimately kind of injecting music into the overall creative concept to present to clients and try to sell through an idea. It can also arrive as late in the game as being days before the final mix for a production, being in the edit, post-production, post-shooting the commercial, and have mere hours before the spot ultimately ships for live broadcast to go out. So that's kind of the range that music can be involved in. Oftentimes you might hear from people that music is one of the last elements to go into a production, and that is commonplace, although I think today music is regarded as a creative element that really can drive a commercial campaign. And so a lot of ad agencies, a lot of people working in the industry want music to become involved earlier in the process.
It's interesting you say that. Is it your experience today with commercials in the last 2 years that music is being used more to drive the message, to drive the brand? Is that what you're finding?
Look, I think music, and obviously I'm biased because I work in it, but I think music really can drive a campaign. It can drive the message across. Ultimately, there's a lot of different creative variables. There is the copy, there is the art direction, but I mean, there are examples of commercials where there isn't copy. There's no voiceover. You just hear a song. And whether that song is selling the idea through with a lyric, or it's just the song itself that sets the mood, that's memorable, that lasts with you after you've seen a piece, that alone can obviously sell the idea.
In commercials, in the world of television commercials or just, ads, it's quite distinct from film and from television in the decision-making process. With film, it's all about the director making that decision. In TV, it's usually all about the producer or the network. Commercials, it's a different kind of realm. Can you talk to us about who the decision makers are, who you deal with and interact with in regards to the decisions of what music you are or aren't going to use?
Well, there are several folks involved. Obviously, I'm one of them. So the music obviously filters through me into the agency. And I work typically with a creative team, and that creative team has the next, decision. They're the next decision makers in the process. So I work very closely with them. We sift through ideas. We come up with ideas for music. Ultimately, those are presented internally. I mean, if you really want to get into the specifics, there's layers of creatives involved. There's ultimately an account team who are the liaison to the client directly. And we make sure that those ideas are communicated with the overarching team that represents the brand at the agency. And then those ideas are presented on the brand side. And there are layers on the brand side that are focused on marketing, the overall marketing of the product, they represent the brand. So there's a lot of folks involved that go into the decision-making process, which, as you can imagine, can make it really difficult for one song to just make it into the spot.
Absolutely. One thing I haven't asked you about, which I'm curious, since you're talking about it, how much does budget of a commercial or the budget that's given to you determine your musical choices or the range of things that you can go after?
Well, look, if there is a set budget, obviously that's a huge determining factor. We place creative first. So we want to find the best creative solution always for our commercial campaigns, our social campaigns, whatever we're working on. Obviously, there are budget limitations that come into place if there is a specific set budget for music. My approach with that is always, what is the best creative solution that I can make happen within this budget? How can I maximize on that creative potential with what I am working with?
Okay. Has there ever been a situation that you've been involved with where you've come up with an idea or you wanted to use a piece of music that's perhaps more than the budget and the client goes, that's brilliant, let's do it. Let's spend the money and do it.
Yes, that does come into play. I mean, I think that if there is a budget presented to us, we want to stay in line with what the client wants to work with. That being said, to your point, if we feel that there is another option that can really enhance the creative for our campaign, really elevate the spot, and take it to a level that an alternative song that works within the budget can't, then we present that as an alternative option and say, here's something that we feel really passionate about. Ultimately, it's going to be X amount of money.
Are you willing to do that, or are you?
Exactly. Right. So we like to present that as an option. I mean, I don't think we ever would want to put our clients in a place where, the only option that we give them is out of the budget range that we're working.
Okay. In the last, I'd say, decade, in the world of music, we've exploded the amount of options and platforms and choices and opportunities that we have for listening to music, for being presented to music. Because this is your world, has that created a greater opportunity for you to find new and interesting things, or has it been simply overwhelming and you basically have to stick with the choices and the relationships that you have? How does that work in your particular world where you have to search out for new music?
Oh, I think it's amazing. I think, sure, it's overwhelming how much music is out there. And don't quote me now, I think it was 20,000. I forget how many songs are uploaded to Spotify a day. It has to be more than that. But, there is so much music out there. But as a music person, obviously, we have to feel passionate about it. That's why we get into this. We have to want to listen. And I think ultimately with social media, it has allowed this easier connection to artists, to people who are music suppliers. And at the end of the day, I've had the ability to, with services like SoundCloud, for an example, just direct message an artist on SoundCloud, say, hey, I really like this song, think this could be great. Are you repped by anyone? How can we make this possible? Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but I think the options are endless. And I think it's really interesting to be able to capitalize on that, to take advantage of all of these different opportunities that are out there.
Okay. Do you find that clients are more open to a wider variety of music choices today in terms of these opportunities that you're talking about than perhaps when you started in the business?
That's a great question. I think my clients are, for sure. I have been doing this for about 6 years or so. And so I to be honest, I can't quite say that there has been a drastic change in that amount of time, but I can say that the clients I work with now are very open-minded. And I think that we present them a lot of different ideas that push their brands in new directions. And that's ultimately what we want to do, to position them in the best place they can be in.
You know, you talk about the expansion of technology, the new options that you have musically to the things that you're looking at. Also from a brand and marketing standpoint, are you doing more content, musically, visually, for specific platforms that is not just going to be an ad on television, in a specific time frame? Are you doing more of that for brands where this is the TV spot and, Brandon, we need you to do one for the 1 minute thing for Facebook or for whatever it is? Are you doing more of those kinds of things?
Yeah, absolutely. If you think about media buys, you think about how expensive it is to run, an ad on TV, and you think about how much content is out there today, how we are inundated every day with so much content. I mean, I can't remember half the time what I've seen just a couple days ago with how much is on social media, how much is on the web. So we're releasing a lot more content on social media, on platforms like YouTube, on Facebook, obviously, and bypassing the traditional TV campaign, that costs a lot of money and it has a heavier rollout. This is much easier, and it can also connect with the consumer very easily too. So it's cost effective, and I think it works in a quicker fashion. And, we are a really fast-paced moving industry, so we need to be able to work quickly.
Have you found that there's a difference in the kind of creative you can get away with for those kinds of platforms that's perhaps different because of time, because of money or whatever, for television, that you can perhaps be more experimental or a little different online?
I think the answer to that question is yes. I think that we have the ability to be a bit more experimental with social campaigns, with internet campaigns. It comes down to just even the length of the commercial. I mean, typically you're not going to find a TV campaign that is longer than 30 seconds, that's shorter than 15 seconds. And of course it's out there, but on the web, on social media, we can come up with social ideas that are 3-6 seconds long, that are quick little social campaigns. We can come up with something that's a minute long. We can come up with something that's longer than a minute and create, what can be considered a short film that's, promoting a brand. So there's a bit more room to play around with the creative in that sense.
When you come across a composer that you'd like to really use, that really you think is outstanding for the kind of work and the needs that you have creatively, how do you introduce an unknown entity, if you will, to your clients and make them feel secure about doing that? Or do they just trust your instincts in what you want to do musically?
Do you mean from a creative perspective? From a creative perspective? Well, I think that ultimately, unless there's a greater partnership involved with someone and we're trying to leverage them for some other position that's beyond just the music itself, I think the music can speak for itself. And obviously we've vetted through a lot of different music before we're presenting to our clients, so we're trying different music out on the edits, trying different edits out with the music. And so ultimately, if there's a right fit and we haven't worked with this person before, that's really all that matters. If the music really fits and if it really helps, like I always say, to elevate the spot, to complement the rest of the creative and ultimately enhance the whole campaign.
Okay. One of the most important aspects of your job is getting the right people and the right songs for your clients and for these projects that you're working on. You've got, serious time, budget, and business considerations. How does somebody become on your radar, so to speak, who wants to present music to you in the most effective way, given everything that you've talked about?
Well, I briefly touched on this on the panel today, but I think given that we are inundated with so much music today, and that goes beyond just people in my world, but just the general population, of the average music consumer, or even someone who's not, the average music consumer. There's just so much out there to take in. I think there is a lot of value in being an expert. And someone told me this a long time ago that, it can apply to just any trade. Being an expert in a certain area really helps. And I think that there's the opinion out there that as a composer or as an artist, you need to be able to do so much, to work in all different genres and all different spaces. And I think there are the folks who can do that, but I think ultimately that's a challenge for a lot of people. And so I think when someone, whether they're a composer or whether they're a sync licensing company even, have a point of view on music, and they take that point of view and they present it to me and say, this is what I am known for. This is what we are known for. This is what we do. This is who we work for. It paints a picture for me, and ultimately it's memorable, and I can trust that they offer a certain product that no one else offers. So I think my advice in that area is be an expert in something. Pick something to be an expert in. I mean, obviously, probably wouldn't be picking it if you're going to be an expert because that's what you feel passionate about, if that makes sense.
Okay. All right. So, Ben, for someone who's interested in pursuing a career in your field, being a senior music producer for an ad agency, what kind of advice would you have for them in terms of the things that they should be doing?
It's a very balanced skill set, and I think that's part of why I really enjoy my job. Music supervisors, music producers, we work in all different capacities, from creative to business, finance to legal. And I think ultimately to be a good music supervisor and or music producer, I can only speak for the ad world, but I think one has to be a master in all of these facets. I think it's important, not only important, but crucial to really understand music from a creative perspective. That is the, pinnacle of what we do as experts in music, and finding the right music for our brands, for our clients. But ultimately, there does need to be deep knowledge in the business world, managing budgets, managing timelines, managing expectations of clients, of partners in the industry. And it is a litigious world. So being able to understand legal and how that works within the confines of this industry, I think is crucial to being a good music supervisor and producer.
Okay. What advice would you have for composers who are coming up that, want to develop their careers, professionally speaking, to work as composers in film or in commercials or in television?
I think for composers, it's really, like I said, one would be going back to having the expertise, finding a niche area that you want to carve out for yourself. And I think that is a search in the heart to know what you want to do, what you do best, and put that out into the world, obviously. And then second to that is, taking the work as it comes. When there is an opportunity, take advantage of that opportunity. Even if it's, the smallest social media campaign or the smallest short film, utilize that as something to put on your reel and show others what you've done. And start with the people you know. I think it's commonplace in the music industry to always say, hey, it's always the people you know, get to know everyone. But really, you'd be surprised probably who you know in your inner circle first, and then how that can bridge into a larger community.
Wow. Some really great information from Ben, especially for those of you who are looking to get your music into the world of advertising. So, insiders, here's the question of the day. From this video, what were the most valuable takeaways to you from our interview with Ben? Was it the enormous proliferation of new music sources for advertising? Or was it the challenge to sell a new and unknown composer to a client? Or was it learning how to get on his radar as a musician and what his musical needs are? Or maybe it was something else that resonated with you altogether. We'd love to hear from you and connect in the comments below. Thanks so much for watching this video. Make sure to subscribe to MUBUTV for more information on how to educate, empower, and engage your music career. You can also check out a summary of this episode and everything we talked about in the description below as well. And if you enjoyed this video, we'd really love it if you hit the like button and let us know what other kinds of videos and types of content you want to see on our channel. Hit us up in the comments below, and we'll see you in the next video.